I gave the order with my hand still warm from my cup. That is the detail the cadets never expect. Not fear, not fury. A man drinking calf on a cold bridge, watching a supply convoy crawl across the Calder Drift, and saying the word that ended 40 lives in under a minute. 11 cadets sit in front of me now, in the same hall where I once sat, under the same iron rafters, the same cold draft running down from the high windows that never quite seal against the season. They have my service record open on their slates. They know the medals. They do not know what the medals cost, because the citation that came with them was written by men who needed the story to end well, and I let it stand for 30 years because I did not yet understand how it actually ended. I am the last officer of the Gray Spear strike wing still breathing, and I intend to use what's left of that fact properly. They expect me to tell it the way the official citation tells it. I am not going to do that. The convoy was human. 6 haulers, unarmed by every reading our sensors gave us, running cargo through a belt the Dominion had claimed 11 years prior. Vice Marshal Dorun Kale called it an incursion. I called it, in the silence of my own head, 6 fat targets that would make his career. He was not wrong about that part. The strike took 90 seconds. We did not stop to confirm what was aboard those haulers before the order went out, "Children of war never do," and I was young enough then to mistake that for discipline instead of cowardice. The haulers did not maneuver. They did not return fire. They simply came apart in sequence, hull after hull, while Dorun counted the kills aloud over the open channel like a man keeping score at a sporting match. We took gun camera footage home as proof of resolve. Dorun played it at the victory address, full volume, in this very hall, with the year's new cadets seated where you are seated now. I remember the room laughing at how easily they'd come apart. I did not fire that day. My battery had a targeting fault, true, documented, and the only reason I am standing here instead of in the ground with the rest of them. I want that on record before I tell you what came after, because for years I believed the fault had saved me. I no longer believe that. I believe it marked me as the one who got to watch. 11 months later, Dorun Kale's courier ship missed a scheduled relay. Routine, everyone said. Couriers miss relays. They found the ship 4 months after that, drifting full power, hull intact, crew at their stations with their restraints still fastened and Dorun gone. No breach. No boarding marks. No distress call logged before the silence. The Board of Inquiry wrote cause undetermined and moved on because a Board of Inquiry has a quota and a war to keep running. I did not think of the convoy. Not yet. Grief is slow to connect its own dots. 2 years after Dorun, the wing's tactical officer, a methodical, careful man named Brask Orun, who had personally plotted every firing solution that day, retired to a quiet agricultural settlement and took up beekeeping of all things, as if a man could trade one kind of order for another and be left alone. He was found in his own hives, unmarked, no sting, no wound, the bees themselves undisturbed and working around him as though nothing in their world had changed at all. The settlement physician wrote heart failure. I have read that report more times than I can count, and I no longer believe a word of it. 14 months after that, my gunnery officer from the Gray Spear, a woman named Myra Sen who had put more rounds into those haulers than anyone alive, took shore leave on a resort moon with full Dominion security in place. She went for a morning swim in calm water under 3 orbital watch stations and did not come back to shore. They recovered nothing, not a body, not a struggle. The water itself was undisturbed, the security logs clean to the second, as though whatever had been there had simply chosen not to be seen by anything we owned. That was when I started keeping the list. I am not proud of how long it took me. 7 names. 7 officers who had stood on that bridge or pulled those triggers. Over 11 years, one by one, each of them died somewhere no enemy fleet should have been able to reach. A sealed command bunker on a core world, a flagship's locked officers' mess during a routine patrol, a private estate with its own defense grid still logging green status the entire night, a beekeeper's quiet field. Never a weapon discharged that anyone could find. Never a ship detected inbound. Never a witness. The Dominion's finest investigators examined every scene and produced 7 reports that all said, in 7 different careful ways, that nothing had happened that the instruments could explain. I read every one of those reports twice. I have them still, in a locked case under my bunk, because I learned a long time ago that the Dominion prefers a closed file to an open question. I started to understand what we were looking at only when I stopped looking for a weapon and started looking at the order in which they died. It was not random. It was not even fast. Whatever was doing this had time. 11 years to take 7 names off one bridge crew, never rushing, never missing, never once allowing itself to be seen. That is not vengeance as my people practice it. Vengeance is loud. It announces itself. It wants witnesses. It wants the satisfaction of being feared while it works. This was a ledger being closed at its own unhurried pace, by something that had already decided the outcome and was simply waiting for us to notice the shape of what was happening to us. I requested the original sensor logs from the strike, the ones nobody had looked at twice in a decade, sealed in an archive vault 3 levels below this hall, and I sat with them alone until my eyes ached, scrolling past what our scanners had called unarmed cargo. Buried under 6 haulers worth of grain manifests and water reclamation units was a 7th signature, smaller, quieter, running dark the entire approach. A single human vessel that had not fired a shot during the engagement, had not needed to, and had simply watched us do what we did and then turned and gone home. It had not come back to fight us. It had come back to remove us, name by name, at a pace that made certain we would have years to understand exactly why, before the list finally reached its end. I am the only name still on it. I have asked myself for a decade why I am still here, and I no longer let myself believe it is the targeting fault. I think it is something simpler and far worse. I think I am the witness, the one left standing specifically so this hall would have someone to stand in it. The Dominion does not speak the convoy's name anymore. There is no commemoration, no monument, no entry in any cadet's curriculum but this one. Delivered once a year, by the one man left who was there. We do not patrol the Calder Drift. We do not send ships within 3 systems of charted human space without a standing order that requires 3 separate signatures and a written justification that every signatory knows will be read, eventually, by someone asking why. You are going to graduate this academy believing the galaxy rewards strength shown quickly and decisively. I am telling you, with the only authority I have left, that the strongest thing I ever saw made no sound at all. It simply waited until every man who'd pulled a trigger that day had run out of years, and it never once let any of them see it coming. I am old now. My battery fault bought me 3 decades nobody else on that bridge received, and I have spent every one of them in this hall, saying the same sentence to a new set of faces, because it is the only debt I know how to pay. Some years I think the Dominion keeps me on the rolls for that reason alone, not as a hero, whatever the citation says, but as a fixture, a standing instrument they wind up once a year and point at a fresh class of cadets so the warning never goes stale with age. Do not cross into human space, not for plunder, not for glory, not because your sensors tell you the ship ahead is unarmed and slow and undefended. The ones who attacked that convoy believed exactly that, and every single one of them is dead now, except the man who didn't fire. I have outlived my commander, my tactical officer, my gunnery officer, and 4 others whose names I will not speak in this hall because speaking them feels too much like calling something back to finish its work. Class is dismissed. Go home and tell no one what I told you tonight, except to remember it the day someone above you gives an order over a quiet stretch of stars and calls it an easy kill. Look at the haulers on your sensor board a moment longer than you've been trained to. Ask yourself whether the silence behind them is empty or only patient. By the time you have an answer, it will already be too late to matter. It was for all of us.